Next up is the San Diego Chargers for Fantasy Football 2013. I'm Brett Norton. Looking at the Chargers at the quarterback position, you've got Philip Rivers. Rivers still a solid quarterback, but seems to have really regressed in the past couple of years as the general talent around him has decreased. Rivers still a solid number 2 quarterback. He gets lumped in with the Andy Daltons and Joe Flacco's of the world. Not quite as good as Flacco, but as a second quarterback, he's a solid candidate. He falls into that group of a whole bunch of guys who aren't starter candidate worthy, but certainly a second quarterback, bye week type of quarterback, and you could do worse. At the running back position, the Chargers added Danny Woodhead as well as having Ryan Mathews. Matthews, one of the big disappointments in fantasy last year, was expected to be a top 10 running back, was taken early in drafts and really ruined a lot of people's seasons by just being awful in every way, shape, and form. This year, no one is drinking that Kool-Aid. Ryan Mathews is going well into rounds 9, 10, 11, and a little bit later. They added Danny Woodhead, and in mock drafts that I've seen, Danny Woodhead consistently goes in rounds 8 or 9, and I just don't see why. He has some fantasy value, but he's small. He doesn't get a lot of carries on the goal line. I don't see him being a real standout for the Chargers. He's certainly draftable, but I would take him as a running back 4 well into rounds 12 or 13, kind of as a flyer, than somewhere early in round 8. He's just not going to get a lot of carries, and he probably couldn't hold up as he is so small. If you look at him with the Patriots, he's definitely a number 3 running back with limited fantasy value. Wide receivers, they have Malcolm Floyd, who should be a solid contributor, somewhere around 9 or 10. And Denario Alexander, he's their big guy. If he can stay healthy, his height and his strength gives him the ability to win a lot of jump balls. He should be their leading receiver, again, if he stays healthy, and look for him to go in around 6, 7. And as a solid wide receiver 2, I wouldn't put him in the wide receiver 1 unless he can stay healthy, and that's always been the consideration for him. Tight end is Antonio Gates. At one point in time, Gates was the man at tight end. Now he's just another body. He belongs in a solid list of guys that could contribute, especially in individual games, but shouldn't really provide you much as far as concern during the draft. If you didn't end up with him and you ended up with Greg Olsen or some Kyle Rudolph type of tight end, you're not going to be any worse off by not having Antonio Gates on your team. So draftable, but he is lumped in with the large number of second-tier tight ends that are out there. Special teams and defense for the Chargers are solid, but not spectacular. They will return some kicks pretty well. Their defense might be overtaxed by their offense. I think their offense will be better than it was last year. It would be hard-pressed to be worse. But I don't think it's going to be a tremendous offense. They do play in a bad division, so that should help the defense. But again, if you're going to take it, it's going to be one of the last picks of the draft, and just because all the other defenses in front of them were taken. And as far as a kicker, it's Nick Novak, and Novak is solid but not spectacular. Only had like 20 kicks last year. I think he'll get more opportunities. I think the Chargers will score more points than they did last year. And Novak should benefit from there. So he might slip into that mid-kicker, certainly not one of the top 2 or 3 guys that's going to be taken. But if, again, you're waiting for the last pick of the draft and your kicker is 7 or 8 have already been taken, then Novak is a pretty solid choice. So again, Rivers is a quarterback 2, lumped in with a bunch of other guys. Woodhead and Ryan Mathews at the running back, both should be drafted. Both will be drafted late. Wide receiver Denario Alexander, probably around 5, 6 time frame that he'll go. Malcolm Floyd is closer to 8 through 11, somewhere in there. Tight end is Antonio Gates. He's draftable, but falls in the mid-range category as far as tight ends go. Defense and special teams, only if you absolutely necessarily need to take a defense and everyone else is gone. And pretty much the same could be said of Nick Novak.